Hello and welcome. I am Sir X Yonder, and today I'm going to talk about why I think the Ken Amiibo is viable. Um, so I'm going to talk about that, and then the meat is a really interesting experiment that I did. So if you want to skip straight to that, I'll put a timestamp in there. I was originally going to record this with my uh, Please Network friend, well, just friend, but he's on Please Network too, and that's why I said it like that. Java Hoot, but that didn't work because whenever we recorded, the sound didn't record for some reason. I have no idea what was up with that, but that's unfortunate. His channel will still be in the description, as well as the Please Network channel. So go check both of them out because apparently, even a YouTuber with 14 subscribers, such as myself, still can't get through a video without plugging something. So, why the Ken Amiibo is viable? For starters, we'll talk about why he's unviable too. I do want this to be completely fair and balanced. Um, so why he's viable? Let's start with just his moveset in general. Um, for starters, his up B is one of his best tools. It's a great anti-air tool. Up tilt, forward tilt, Shoryuken is probably his best combo that he has. It combos into a kill move, and you can train Ken so that anytime his opponent jumps above, he'll use Shoryuken. And if you miss both the first two hits and only hit the third one, that's a sweet spot. So I've seen many a Ken do that, and it works great every single time, especially on light characters. Also, light down tilt, heavy down tilt, Hadoken, again, great combo, racks up damage. Not as good as Ryu's though, because Ryu's Hadoken just does more damage. You could replace that with Shakanetsu or Tatsumaki, which Shakanetsu racks up even more damage, and Tatsumaki also does a good amount of damage and is a kill move. So Ken is just kind of outclassed by Ryu in terms of his move set. So it's kind of an unfair comparison to compare Ken to Ryu, but I did anyways. Um, Down tilt Shoryuken is a reason that he's viable, but also one of the main reasons that he's unviable, because he'll flip it around and accidentally kill himself. But for this experiment, I had to do 300 matches, 150 with Ken and 150 with Ryu. One Ryu SD'd with Shoryuken off the edge. Not a single Ken did, and only one Ryu did. So, I mean, out of 150 matches per character, I'd say it's pretty good. I don't think just because these particular Kens didn't, it completely disproves the fact that that's an issue. It still is an issue, but I just think it's, been greatly exaggerated. Some of his moves are completely unviable. Heavy far jab, he can hit it sometimes, but generally he just won't. Down tilt, you gotta teach him the follow-ups to it, or he'll do that reverse Shoryuken. I've seen the Kenshiro do it a fair amount, and in the footage you're seeing right now, he's probably done it a couple of times already, depending on whatever match I decide to put up. But when he's being compared to Ryu, the thing that's, really in Ryu's favor is his moveset as well as his AI. He's just all around better character, but the purpose of this experiment, which I'm going to get into right now, was not to prove Ken to be just as good or better than Ryu. That was not the purpose of this at all. It was simply to prove Ken better than people think that he is, because he's definitely not as good as Ryu, and I can especially say that after having to do this ridiculous amount of matches. Took forever. So here are the tough competitors we've got here. None of these amiibo are particularly notable in any way. Just these ones in particular. I mean, the characters, you can say whatever you want about the characters. Many of them are unrated on Amiibots. The only ones that are rated, well, it doesn't matter that much. The only really notable one here is Fusion, my Cloud. He got 13 out of 111 at the Salty Skirmish. So that's something. But yeah, so let's take a look at this first set of data here. So Ken got a 38% win rate. and Ryu got a 76% win rate. Again, the AI and the uh, move set makes such a ridiculous difference. One thing I did notice across all three of these Ryus, they would not really use the exact same combos that the Kens were doing, but since the Kens had the data, then the Ryu would do it. And you can be expecting to see this particular Ryu in Amiibots very soon. I don't know about the other two. They play kind of similarly, so I probably really only need to put one in. Um, but he would do down tilt Shoryuken, which is something I don't see on Ryu's very much. I see a lot of up tilt Shoryuken, which this one also does. Light down tilt, heavy down tilt, Shakanetsu, Hadoken, Tatsumaki, all things that this Ryu does, which this Ken doesn't really do. I mean, this Ken does do a little bit of Tatsumaki. If you're watching, this Ken's the one in the yellow costume, um, if that makes any difference. Um, he got 0-5 by Terry, but and 1-4 to Cloud. But he went 3-2 on Kron, 3-2 on Marth, 3-2 on Snake. But he did go 2-3 on Kazuya. But I still find that impressive because it's a D plus tier against a U tier, the second best character in the whole game. In addition, this Kazuya, he's a pretty average Kazuya. He has a rating of 30 on Amiibots, which is not, anything special, but it's certainly not anything to scoff at. Ryu, the 76%, 4-1 Crom, 3-2 Cloud, 5-0 Ryu, 3-2 Young Link, 5-0 Marth, 1-4 Snake, 5-0 Richter, 4-1. Yeah, he got positive win rate every single time against all these Amiibo. Good for him, but uh, this isn't really looking too great in Ken's favor. But it's an experiment; it doesn't have to, right? Here, this Ken did a little bit better. 46%, that's 8% better. This Ryu did worse by 2%, but 74%, that's still a great win rate. This Ken is the only Ken that didn't take a game off Kazuya. I think the only Amiibo out of all 6 of these not to take a game off Kazuya, which is impressive in all the wrong ways. But yeah, I don't understand how it 5-0'd Snake and went 0-5 against Kazuya, 1-4 against Richter and Marth and Terry. Yikes. Yeah, I always had the impression that this Ken was the worst one because he had a lot of trouble killing. This is the one in the red costume, you might see him on there. Both of these ones are also in the B-bots, but this Ken Jeweler is unrated. Sean is rated, but he's nothing impressive, although I think he's a little bit underrated. But ratings go up over time. He only has about 15 matches right now. Off topic, anyways. Not really anything to say about this Ryu. 5-0 Young Link, 5-0 Meta Knight. Got a positive win rate every single time still, except for Terry. But again, like, he's doing, like, ridiculously well. But you gotta think how different these characters are, actually. And then the last one, Fury. This one is the most recent one I trained. Sean is SSST. Ken Jeweler is like the first one I trained. I trained him some months ago. And then Fury, I got the actual Ken Amiibo for Christmas, which is cool. He went solidly even, 50%, 2-3 against Kazuya, 5-0 Marth, 3-2 Richter. I don't really know. That's not too impressive, I guess. He's Richter, but then again, Ken. And then Ryu, this Ryu did quite terrible, actually, comparative to the other Ryus, at least. With a 56% win rate, 1-4 against Kazuya, yikes. 2-3 against Cloud. I think other than that, he got a positive win rate well, no, that's not true. 2-3 against Ryu, 2-3 Cloud, 2-3 Terry, 1-4 Kazuya. So, yeah. Not terrible. He still did better than every single Ken, but still. So the way I did this is I brain transplanted these 3 Kens onto Ryus at different points. Of course, it's not like I just did all 3 in a row and then put them onto a singular Ryu. That's not what I did. But I thought that would be fair. none of these Kens are trained in a particularly Ken exclusive way. I think what works with Ken could work with Ryu, but what works with Ryu doesn't really work with Ken because Tatsumaki's a terrible move on Ken. It doesn't kill, and he'll use it at high percents, which is not great. So by brain transplanting these Kens onto Ryus, well, for starters, the character of Ryu and the AI is making up for whatever deficit, I guess you could say, just by Ken's training. So, I am happy with how the experiment went. Hopefully, I can save Ken from this low tier hell that he's been living. But the idea wasn't to prove that Ken is secretly A plus tier. No. It was to prove him like C plus tier or even C tier. By proving that he could compete on not as low level as you think he would, but I don't think I really proved that. 38%, 46%, 50% compared to 76%, 74%, 56%. I think if I compared him to another character like I don't know, Rob, then I think Ken would perform probably similar or like comparably, at least if not a little bit better. But in the end, Rob is, well, I'm just using him as an example. It doesn't really matter what character you do, but he's too different. I picked Ryu and Ken specifically because they're similar, and they're it's an easy brain transplant. Whereas Ken's data would probably not be carrying over. But the thing is, like, it's ridiculous how low Ken is compared to how high Ryu is when Ken isn't as terrible as I think people think that he is. He gets no rep and nobody labs him. I really think that if he got more representation, then he'd do better. There's only 16 Kens in Amiibots, which is a lot of the reason that his rating average is so low, because there's not a good pool. They say you need at least 30 data points for just anything really. But Ken, he has like I think exactly 20. I checked last night when me and Jawahu were recording. But that's not the point. The point is, if Ken got more rep, he'd be better. I hardly ever see him in tournaments, but he's better than these low tier characters. Like Mr. Game & Watch and Pichu are the two lightest characters in the game, and Mr. Game & Watch is in Ken's tier, and Pichu is the tier above. Like, they're not bad characters, they just have zero survivability, and Pichu's got his combos. But he's still ridiculously light. Characters like Ganondorf and Bowser can kill him in 2 moves. Ken at least has some more of that survivability. Inkling's AI is worse than Ken. Side B roller, Inkling will charge that thing up into infinity. The smash attacks, and I think Jigglypuff is a tier lower, but still that's only like 3 places lower than Ken, so I think it still applies. Jigglypuff, ridiculously light, cannot even land her best move. Rest, can't even hit it very well. So I really think that Ken has the potential to compete at a higher level than these Amiibo in particular, at least. I don't think he has the potential to compete in a very high level. He's certainly not viable in any meaningful way. But I just hope to get that, little bit of push for Ken, I think if he was a tier or 2 higher, he's probably a tier higher. There's really nothing being done on Ken. This is probably the only thing that's been done in Ken for the last, I don't know, ever. But I just feel he's underrepresented. You know, if he got more representation, he'd do better because nobody submits him, so he's not winning. Uh, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy this experiment, really, and also me talking about how Ken is just better than people say he is. Not better than Ryu, though. Obviously not. Um, Beyond that, Ken's just fun to watch, and he's like a well-designed character. I will say, after seeing 150 matches of both these characters, I'm kind of tired of them. But I will say, Ryu's more fun to watch than Ken. A little bit. A little bit. Don't come after me in the comments. You said Ken was good, but he's not as fun to watch as Ryu. Whatever. So, thanks for watching, and have a good day, I guess. Yeah.